Hi, we're back. TechCrunch Gadgets live from CES 2013. I'm here with Eric, CEO of Pebble watches. This is the largest, basically, raise in Kickstarter ever. It was like $1 billion, I think. Was
close.
That right?
We raised 10.2 million.
10.2 million. So it's very, very close to $1 billion. I'm not very good at math. But what this is, it's basically a smartwatch. So why don't you describe some of the features? This thing's getting ready to ship, so I wanted people to actually take a look at it.
Yeah.
You want to take it off and hold it up a little bit?
Actually, I've got another one right
perfect.
here. Pebble is a smartwatch. So what does that mean? It means it's connected to your smartphone. Works with iOS and Android phones. And whenever you get a new email, text message, or call, the watch will vibrate and display the key portion of the message right on your wrist. But what we've done is we've kind of made Pebble quite customizable, so you can quickly, so you can have a watch face installed there, and then switch them around. So if you're a real geek, you can install the binary watch face. It also controls music on your phone. So if you leave your iPhone or iPod Touch, connected to one of those music docks, you can walk around and still control your music. Yeah, and we're in it for sort of the customizability. We think that the hardware that we've built it's a really good starting point for seeing what sort of apps people will write for a watch. A display that's connected to the internet sitting on your wrist.
So I heard that there was going to be sort of a Runkeeper integration.
Yeah,
the other things, health.
Yeah, the idea is that you have a lot of apps installed on your phone, and some of those apps, not all of them, but some of them have tiny bits of data that can be extracted from the phone and displayed sort of in everyday life. And so in the Runkeeper example, Runkeeper's great, but a lot of people don't have those armbands, or they don't want to run with their phone strapped to their arm. So what Pebble does is it unlocks, it takes the elapsed time, your distance traveled, and your pace from your phone, displays them on your wrist, kind of in a heads-up display manner, so you can run and just glance at your wrist to see your stats.
I mean, I think the most interesting thing about a smartwatch, and I'm not a huge proponent of smartwatches.
But you're a big fan of watches.
I'm a big fan of watches. So I'm running around with my automatics, and I always see these smartwatches coming out. And I feel like this real estate, which has for, let's say, 500 years almost, in some cases, or a pocket watch, that sort of thing. The idea of telling time on your wrist is sort of ingrained in us as a culture, whereas something like this requires all sorts of thinking. So you look down at this and you see the time, but if you want to see Runkeeper and all this other stuff, you've got all kinds of other buttons to press, and it gets kind of confusing.
It's less of a single-purpose, single-serving device. I think it's very true that the watch has become this single-purpose tool to tell the time. There are a bunch of watches that have complications and stuff like that, but the core is telling time, and that's why at the base of it, Pebble tells the time very well.
Sure.
And it can be done quite elegantly. One of the interesting things that Pebble does is it's easy to customize. So if you install different apps from your phone, you can install watch apps on your watch and kind of change the look of your watch. So we've seen a lot of people, they might buy watches from Tokyo Flash or something like that, and have a really cool fashion watch idea. With Pebble, we found that within maybe a couple hours of hacking, we can write watch faces that imitate some of these cool fashion watches.
Okay, and this is actually surprisingly light. Is this going to be the final?
This is it. That's straight off the assembly line.
It's surprisingly light and it's surprisingly small, which is another issue because you have all these. The sports watches are usually huge. You have like a Sunto or whatever, which is a giant pie plate on your wrist.
Yeah.
How long is this going to last on one battery charge?
7 days.
7 days.
While connected by Bluetooth, and also while displaying, a watch face, because, like you said, the one thing a watch has to do is tell the time.
Sure. And if this thing dies when I'm traveling or like that, it's basically useless to me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what's the ETA on delivery on these things? You announced the pre-orders are starting to ship, or you're getting ready to ship?
We're starting to ship to our Kickstarter backers. We have 85,000 watches to ship to these guys. We're starting to ship on January 23rd.
And you're doing that out of your house? You're just going to bring them all in and just going to lick the stamps?
We considered that. We ended up opting for a fulfillment center. Now, the first batch of watches were definitely FedExed out of our garage.
Okay. So, I think the original was September. Was there you had some issues with the initial ship date was supposed to be September, is that right?
Yeah, when we first launched our project on Kickstarter back in April, we estimated that we would ship in September, and obviously we haven't. It's been about 3.5 months delayed. The original reason why we estimated September was kind of we posted our project on Kickstarter. We had just come off the back of our first watch, Impulse, which worked exclusively with BlackBerry smartphones. So
good choice.
Well, it was very 2009-esque choice.
Right on the cusp.
Yeah, tell me about it. And so the first watch we manufactured practically, well, the very first watch we manufactured in our garage. Second gen of Impulse we manufactured in a small contract manufacturer in San Jose. And when we launched on Kickstarter, we were planning to actually sell, 1,000 or 2,000 watches, and we were planning to actually manufacture them in the same facility in San Jose. Mm-hmm. But when Pebble just exploded on Kickstarter, we had to switch gears to our sort of plan B, which was, originally our plan A, until we were unable to raise money from venture capitalists. We decided to, so after Kickstarter sort of happened, we switched into our mass production mode. We flew to China, we evaluated several different contract manufacturers, ended up selecting a tier 1 manufacturer, and since then we've had our heads down sort of in manufacturing mode. So obviously we haven't shipped, and that's something that we've been explaining to our Kickstarter backers, over time. We blogged about once every 2 to 3 weeks about the progress that we've made, showing sort of like video from the assembly line, pictures of sort of the prototype watches as they evolved into the final shipping.
Did you guys lose any customers because of the breaking? Because I would say a lot of Kickstarter projects do miss their ship dates.
Yeah, but unfortunately, obviously it wasn't our goal to miss our date, but we felt like the extra time that we had invested in the hardware was worth it, because at the end of the day we can push software updates to Pebble over the air just from your smartphone, but we can't push a hardware update. So we wanted to make sure that everything was working well and that every one of the 85,000 watches that pop off the assembly line were functioning. Yeah,
that's another issue I have with smartwatches, because I usually open my watch box and I see like old fossil spot watches. They're just sitting there and they look forlorn and sad, and it's just sort of like this sense that, oh, this is technology that went away. But if I put this in a safety deposit box today and pulled it back out, this is an Omega. If I pulled it back out 100 years from now, it would still run, it would still be at least vibrant, I suppose you could say.
So I think one of the cool things that we can do with Pebble, I mentioned the updating over the air. So we've actually shifted so during our Kickstarter project, we pledged to update our backers on the production process every 2 to 3 weeks. Yesterday we announced that not only would we be updating our backers every 2 to 3 weeks, we'd be publishing a software update for the watch every 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we're extremely focused on producing new features now that the hardware's finished on the software side, seeing what we can use this platform to do.
And how does it feel to go from a company that was basically building stuff out of your garage, just a bunch of dudes, to something that's sold 85,000 watches and raised $10 million just out of almost thin air, I guess you could say?
Yeah, it's been an experience. Our team's grown. We're now at 11 full-time people, and then some of us spend the majority of our time in Asia managing the production line. It's a lot of work, but we find it extremely rewarding, because every day we wake up and we put on something that we designed and built ourselves onto our wrists, and within a couple weeks we're going to have a hell of a lot of people wearing these watches, and really the entire team is just excited to see and hear what people think of them.
All right, I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt this time. When mine comes, I'll wear it around. Just for a few days.
Which color are you going to go for? We have red, black, white, orange, and gray.
I think I got a red or orange. I forget.
Red looks pretty stylish. This one's a bit ostentatious.
It's a little bit bold, but it'll go with my blue thing.
That's
all right,
cool.
Eric, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. We're going to head over to a video that we shot here at CES. So I guess it would be sort of a cribs. Daryl is going to show us the inside of a smart home. Stay tuned.